Hectic.
Overwhelming.
Uncertain.
Roller coaster comes to mind.
A roller coaster of pros and cons.
Formative.
Chaotic.
Chaotic.
Unforeseen.
Life-altering.
America is really underprepared to deal with a crisis like this, and that's been kind of scary to learn.
It's been a struggle, to keep the lights on, to pay rent, those type of things.
I protested this year, which was a very new experience for me and a very touchy subject in my household, mainly because of safety.
I was a substitute teacher for 15 years, and I resigned.
If you told me in January, I would be doing all those things, I would tell you that's a big life.
I feel like the events of this year are gonna impact us for many years to come.
I think this is a important historical moment.
What if 2020 isn't canceled? What if 2020 is the year we've been waiting for? A year so uncomfortable, so painful, so scary, so raw, that it finally forces us to grow. A year that screams so loud, finally awakening us from our ignorant slumber. A year we finally accept the need for change, declare change, work for change, become the change. A year we finally band together instead of pushing each other further apart. 2020 isn't canceled, but rather the most important year of them all.
It's Carmen Borgia. Today is Monday. It is the 30th of March 2020. I've been trying to articulate this thought in my head that I've been having for the past, I think it's been 2 weeks now. I've been thinking my emotions have been very up and down because there are a lot of things I really hate about this, but then a few things that I don't hate. One of the reasons that I was enjoying this at first and was positive about it is that I really liked the disruption of it. I admire that it is grasping the attention of every person in the world. Everyone is seeing this and facing this. I don't like that it's causing problems for everyone's life. That's not what I mean. But I do really like that it's disrupting the life of everyone who's privileged and forcing people who otherwise would continue their lives never stopping and thinking and being grateful to stop and think and be grateful and reflect.
2020 has been quite unusual, and the events of this year have created challenges for a lot of people. There's no denying it. But 2020 is not responsible for our problems.
It's really devastating to see what's going on in our world today. It affects me, a tremendous amount. I have nephews who look like the boys who've been killed, and I would feel terrible, just something would happen to my nephews just because they're walking down the street.
I kind of described it as the Pandora's box of years. We've been shoving all of these issues, all these problems into this tiny little box, and finally we've opened it.
America has a lot of just really unnecessary problems that shouldn't actually exist because there isn't actually a shortage of resources here. Those resources are just distributed unequally.
We have the money, we have the resources, we have the ability as a country to lower the unemployment rate, to provide people with houses, to give people food, to give people a universal basic income, and yet we don't.
Our society was literally created on racism and sexism and classism. Every institution we have was pretty much founded on these systems of inequality.
So many of us are racist in some ways and don't even really realize it.
We say that we want our lives to return to normal, But the lives most of us were living were filled with laziness, ignorance, selfishness, greed, apathy, and habits that we never stopped to question. Our normal life is what led us to this point.
I think we need to adjust what normal means to accommodate everyone. And normal life for you might be normal, but normal life for someone else might mean that they are in heavy poverty and that they are lacking a lot of things that they need, because that's what we allow normalcy to be in America.
I would have continued to go on my merry way, just kind of being blissfully ignorant to all that has been going on.
People just tend to be ignorant. And when people are ignorant, they're apathetic, they don't understand, and they have that privilege. They have that ability to ignore the reality of the world around them, which is very frustrating. But it's so important for people to get over that uncomfortability and talk about and acknowledge and listen to and empathize with the struggles of so many people, so many different situations.
I don't feel like I was ignorant before.
There are a lot of people that were ignorant to a lot of the issues going on, but then there are a lot of people who weren't.
In this day and age, ignorance is willful. I mean, we have more access to information and access to resources that tell us when information is reliable and when it isn't than ever before.
So, what kind of change do we need?
What are we working for? Really, justice for all people, equality for all people, common human decency for all people, I think is what we're working for. And it shouldn't be that hard.
Duh, we need change. Duh. I mean, we're destroying the world. We're destroying the world. We feel detached from communities we're not a part of, and we're destroying those communities through consumerism and capitalism. Duh, we need change.
Nothing about where you're born or who you are, what family you were born into, what world you were born into, what class you were born into, should say anything about your right to health, your right to education, your right to do what you want with your life.
As a Black Muslim woman, being outwardly vocal for issues and everything, and just with the climate of our country, and being in DC, there are guards here, there are police everywhere. Then my mom is just really, really nervous about that. And in our household forever, we've always been like, be extremely aware of where you are and who you're around and what people are doing. And so in general, you don't need to go out and protest because you are going through the same issues, and you don't need to show it off to the world type thing is what was a pretty big idea in my household. But there was never like oh, you can't do that. It was always just like, you don't really need to. But I felt a need to, so.
Some people joke about canceling 2020 because of all the pain this year has brought. Why wouldn't we want it to end? We've seen the catastrophic effects of unemployment, environmental destruction, racism, xenophobia, poor leadership, and countless other tragedies that most of us never would have predicted back in March. But these events could have been avoided, and now is our opportunity to stop them from getting worse. Some of us have been more ignorant than others, and some of us have more privilege than others. But we all have a responsibility to work for a better normal starting now.
It's sometimes hard for people to wrap their brains around how they can make a difference.
On an individual level, people need to start being more mindful of what they're doing and why. I think people need to start prioritizing themselves less. I think comfort is a priority for a lot of people, especially in the United States. You know, with self-care being a huge thing. Self-care is important, but I think a lot of people lose the big picture. Self-care is important because you can't help other people if you're not helping yourself first. You know, you can't be
You can't bring good energy and contribute to society if you're not okay. That's why self-care is important. It's not important because you matter in a vacuum. It's important because you matter because you're part of something else.
I think this is a time to start questioning why we do the things that we do. Things can become habits, just being like, oh, I drive to work every day as opposed to take the bus. It's like, why is that a habit of yours? Why do you do that? And understanding where the root of that comes from. And like, why do I do this as opposed to that?
Confront those negative and like societally conditioned thoughts that you have. Think twice about the opinions that you have, like collect facts, listen to people, and don't be afraid to grow.
Talk to people, make more friends that don't have your experience, that come from a different background, that know more about different parts of the world than you do, because you both have experiences and valuable knowledge to share.
We do need to be like more in tune with the world and stuff. I think educating ourselves is a big thing. Just being up to date with like world news, and I guess not worrying about ourselves as much.
Just as, average everyday people, like supporting companies that align with your values is important. And I know that's hard. There's a lot of factors that go into where people spend their money. But if you are in the position where you can spend a few extra dollars and support a company that you know is doing good work, then that does make a difference.
One big mistake we always make as people sometimes is we think we cannot really impact change. And I'm guilty of this sometimes because I'm like, what can a single person do? But you think about like foundation, like everything starts beats by beats, like tiny stones could be very important.
So if you have a voice or platform, speak loudly. If you have an extra dollar, spend it wisely. And if you have the ability to vote, cast your ballot this fall like your life depends on it. Use the resources you have to become the change so that we can still make this lifetime one worth remembering.